Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Cynical Marketers, episode 26. We are rolling along and we're happy that you're here. Thank you very much. On this week's, we're talking to some small business owners and maybe anyone else, but we're talking about the three main ways that you can grow your business.
Yep.
And really there's only three. There's a fourth, but I think it's a terrible idea. The fourth one is you can raise prices and then say like, hey, look, we're growing revenue, but that's a terrible idea. And usually price increases are not part of a plan of growing sales. Prices increases are usually in response to cost changes. So
right.
I don't want someone to come at us after and be like, you could just raise prices. Like, yeah, it's not typically a growth strategy though. So
yeah, we try to stay on the ethical side of things.
Yeah.
And
it makes sense. But, if you're a business owner out there, and we're looking for ways too. Everyone is always looking for ways. How do I grow more? And there's really only three ways, The first one, you can acquire new customers. You need more people. That's a big one. Second one, average order value. You can increase your AOV, your average order value, get your customers to buy more from you when they do purchase. So whatever that is, if you're a service business or a product, add-ons, different services, what can you do to increase the amount that they spend with you when they do purchase, your average order value? You can increase that. And the third one is get people to stay with you longer. Like if you're a service business or if you're a product business, get them to repurchase more quickly, increase their lifetime value, their LTV. Yeah. But those are the three that there is. And whatever your marketing strategies are, whatever it is that you are doing, they're typically going to have to be aimed at one of these three buckets. And this is really all that you've got if you're going to try and grow your business. And I think for us, for what we do at Round Two It are the boring side of the podcast part of our business.
The non-cynical side.
Yeah. We talk all the time and the main focus is always about customer acquisition, because while AOV, your average order value, and LTV, both very important things. They're both levers you can work on to pull for revenue changes and things. The problem that I have with those two things as long-term strategies is that you are looking at your audience right now. And if you're looking at one of these things and not acquiring new customers, then your audience has a definition to it and a size. And then you're going to keep hitting that over and over and over. And over time, we all lose customers. Everybody loses customers. Nobody keeps a customer, 100% of their customers forever. So your audience is going to shrink over time. And that no matter what you do then with AOV or lifetime value, you're going to keep chasing that number to try to grow it. And there's only going to be so much that you can get. You have to keep filling your pipeline. And I think that the one main strategy that you've got is to always be acquiring. You have got to bring in new people all the time. Yeah. And that's not even for growth. That's to survive, because like I said, you're going to lose customers. So even if you're looking at your year and you're a service business, like we know some folks, like accountants, for example, they're like, well, we've got a pretty good list of clients we're pretty happy with, and we're making pretty good revenue. We're pretty happy with where we're at. We're kind of in, a good spot.
Right.
Okay. And then they're not going to do anything. Like, we don't really need any more, but then they get to the end of the year and 10 of their clients are like, hey, we're going to these other people, and look, we like you a lot, but my son just graduated from college and he's starting his own place. So I got to go with him, whatever reason, like people leave you for good reasons, for bad, whatever. New competitors, new offers, cheaper, you're going to have something come in. And if you haven't already been thinking about acquiring new and replacing that, now you lost, and now you're like scrambling to try to backfill on these people that you're leaving because you did not have an acquisition strategy in place. And we just saw that with a business who came to one of our courses, right?
Yep. I was just going to mention that, Mike, like you read my mind. Yeah. That was a chiropractic service, and one of their therapists is on maternity leave. And her clients are not going to anybody else in the practice. Majority of her clients are waiting for her to get back. That is such a huge loss to your business. And what happens if that person decides not to come back from maternity leave? Yeah. You read my mind with that. I was like dying to say it. I'm like, oh my God, that is just what we've heard about. Because then what do? If you have a service business and you have, let's say it's a spa and you have 3 massage therapists, right? Or 3 physical therapists or whatever, in this case, a physical therapist or a chiropractor, and that person leaves for whatever that reason is. What have you done to retain any of their clientele? Have you done anything? Now you're going to have to replace all those people, or they go to work for another practice, or they start their own.
You're lose people too, right?
You're going to lose people.
Especially
and that's
in
why,
like, businesses, right?
Yeah.
You're a gym and you've got this personal trainer who has just a full book of business. Like, when that personal trainer leaves and you're going to be like, well, we have non-competes, and like, yeah, okay. No. Good luck enforcing it, right? Like,
honestly, I have worked with so many people and have yet to see somebody enforce my non-compete. So y'all don't even have to bother. Here's the thing though.
If frowns on those, like, unless you're like high end, like the, investment banking.
Right. Like I guess like those folks, that's a different ballgame altogether.
Here, the state of Illinois frowns on businesses not allowing somebody to do the one thing that they have a skill in to work and earn a living. Right. The state's not a big fan of telling
and if you are if you are a service business though, and a lot of service businesses rely on referrals. I know, Mike, that's your favorite. Like a lot of folks rely on referrals. That cannot be your only acquisition strategy. Mike has talked about this and you can, jump in, Mike, but referrals can only take you so far. And that is really the lazy way to acquire folks, because you are like relying on people to do the work for you to acquire that new customer. And just as fast as I can recommend your business, I can tell my friends and family not to go there. And so that is not an acquisition strategy. Have a plan.
It's really not. And I know business owners love it because they don't have to do anything. Yeah. They're not marketing their business. Someone else is. They don't have any control over it then. And you don't really know what's being said, but then you're borrowing the trust from someone else. You haven't established any trust with anyone. Someone's coming to you who's like, well, John is a good friend of mine and I trust him, so I'm going to try you out,
I mean, and that happens to us too.
Yeah.
We've had clients and a lot of our clients have been referrals, either from other clients, from people who, have worked with us before, or people that we've networked with and got referrals. And we're not saying don't work on that part of the business. No, definitely build those relationships. And, if you are lucky enough, that will be a good pipeline for you. But that cannot be the only acquisition effort that you have. And we hear it all the time. We hear it so much from businesses that are like, I'm good. I get referrals. My customers refer other customers.
I don't have to pay for marketing. I don't have to do any of this. I get enough. Look, I get it. I understand it. Nobody wants to pay for anything. What happens if, and so many small businesses and big businesses even, this has happened to a lot of big businesses who just didn't think about the future. And what if things change? Yeah. You're riding high right now. What if things change?
Your favorite blockbuster, Mike.
Referral source, this guy who knows everybody in town here, has a great network. What if they get upset with you and they want to leave you now? Do they take everyone with too?
Right.
Who brought in? When I used to be a restaurant GM, years and years ago, we used to hire in the kitchen, especially families. One guy and he's great on the grill and he's got 3 cousins and stuff and you bring them all in, but then you always were in the risk. If one of these guys quits, they're all going.
They're all out.
And you're like, oh my gosh.
They're all out.
What happens when things change? And things will, on the referral side for sure. And what if somebody, like you said, they can start trashing you as much as as they love you, and you don't have any control over it. And here's the big thing about selling, and we experience this too. You have to be seen by lots and lots of people to have a chance at selling anything. And if you're relying on referrals only, I can tell you that your brand recognition and awareness in your town is roughly 0%. Because you're only known by your current customers and maybe a couple of their friends, and that's it. No one knows who you are. And so you won't sell and no one trusts you because you don't feel like you have to do anything. So then if you all of a sudden find the need to start doing it, now you're behind because it takes a while to start selling. We're in the same boat too, right? You have to be seen a lot to start establishing trust, but it takes this time to work through with people to get seen enough where people are like, I've seen them several times. I can see myself.
Oh, maybe I'll give them a shot. Yeah.
Like you're an accountant or something, you're doing some sort of service, you're a chiropractor, rare that you're going to be a first time close or an impulse purchase.
Right.
Where someone's going to be like, oh, I just saw these guys. I'm going to go let them work on my back.
Yeah. No, I don't impulse purchase those types of things, but it's not a $20 t-shirt. No.
Oh, I got my business taxes I need to get done. Like, who's got the funniest dance video on TikTok? Let me go find that.
It's wild. I mean, and that's the thing I think that people get. This was the hard part too. And so as small business owners ourselves and having ran small businesses, that's the thing too. I think what the trap that a lot of small business owners fall into is you've built it up to a certain point and it got there because, you went and hit the pavement and you networked and you got in front of people and you got your customers and you got, referrals. And now you've reached a certain point where you were like, oh, okay, now I'm busy doing other things, right? Like for when Manny and I had our print shop, like, okay, now we're busy. First few months, it was just getting in front of people, literally doing door to door in like downtown areas of like local like suburbs here. And we got noticed enough. And okay, now we're producing these things that are coming our way, but you're now neglecting to continue selling, right? Because you've gotten to a certain point where you were like, okay, I'm busy enough to sustain me right now. And then by the time something happens, when you start losing the customer, like Mike said, like you're not always going to have the same level of customers. People are going to move. They're going to find someone different. They're going to, for whatever their reasoning is, good or bad, they're not going to always stay with you. By the time you start feeling that problem, it is much bigger than you can handle. Yeah. Like you don't want to get back to the point of, oh, shoot, I got to start from square one. Right. I'm not saying you're going to lose all your customers, but if it gets to the point where you've lost enough where it starts impacting your bottom line and impacting your business and you've neglected acquisition for a certain amount of time, you're now in trouble. Like you now have to work overtime to get new clients, to get new sales, to get whatever it is. Right. So you have to constantly keep working on acquisition. Like you said, always be acquiring, right?
Always be acquiring. It's like the dude who has a heart attack, right? Like, for most folks, like you have a heart attack, the heart attack is the last symptom of all of the things that were building up in your body. And then, you didn't know about because there were no symptoms for it. So you're thinking like, I'm probably doing okay, and then you have a heart attack. You're like, I can't believe it. I'm having a heart attack. And then the doctors are like, yeah, you have to completely change your lifestyle and do all these different things. Now, but you had the heart attack, right? And this happens for businesses. You don't see the signs all the time, right? And then all of a sudden something changes. Referrals is a one channel thing business owners love. The other one is SEO. There are businesses out there who just love that one channel and they've done well and they've focused on it. And they're like, we don't have to do anything because we get organic traffic and we rank for these keywords. We're fine. We don't need anything else. And like, okay, well, what if an algorithm changes? AI overviews are starting to creep into this, and the SEOs are out there telling you, hey, we know how to show up in AI overviews. I'm like, no, I don't know. And that's all going to be changing in flux. But now your business is being threatened. Your dominance on some of these keywords, there is an AI threat to you continuing to hold that dominance. Now, what are you going to start doing? Are you going to wait? You going to keep riding it? You better start planning for another way to acquire these customers and start to be seen. But I bet most aren't.
No,
if they're even aware that there's a problem coming.
It's such an interesting thing though too, because I've been on the other side and I've been on the side that's neglected acquisition, right, in the business. And it's so easy to do that. And then by the time you start feeling the issue, like you said, Mike, it's like, that's when you had the heart attack. And then it's like, oh crap, I could have avoided this if I had just done X, Y, and Z. So yes, always be acquiring. I like that.
The hardest
should be a t-shirt.
Because it's just like your health, and doctors will tell people this. Doctors will tell you all this too, is people do not care about the negative. And this is the psychology of anything, right? So a doctor can tell you, you've got to eat better, you've got to exercise. And the problems that could happen from that are too far down the road for people to really be worried about that right now. So the same thing happens in business, right? Like, hey, things could change on you. And in the future, you could be in trouble and have a problem. But right now, business owners are like, I'm fine. Whatever.
No, I'm fine
don't
now.
need you. It's not a problem. You know, so nobody worries about their health, you know, what they're eating, if the ice smoke, whatever, right? Until the bad thing happens. The avoidance is not enough for anybody. That psychology is not a motivator for anybody. The bad trigger has to happen for most businesses, most people, before they'll make a change.
But in this, I feel in this day and age, right? Like, I don't know, to use a cliche, it's like, don't wait that long. Especially, so like the folks that we work with are usually like small local businesses, and we worked with big brands and we've done big things, but this is sort of our passion, is the small businesses, and we've done it ourselves. So we know the struggle, we get it. You know, if you wait that long, you may think like, oh my God, I'm in downtown Wheaton, which is where we are, right? And I'm a restaurant, and look at all this foot traffic, and my chamber closes the street in the summer so I can have all this open seating outside. And yes, I pay a fee for that, but you know, look at all this foot traffic I'm getting. I don't have to worry about putting a new thing on the menu. I don't have to worry about, you know, doing different things to drive traffic in. It's just sort of happens. Right. And then the leadership changes in your town and the rules change, and the chamber decides this isn't something that they want to support. They, you know, the chamber needs to generate more revenue, and hey, that chain restaurant can come and now outbid you or go down the block from you, that people are going to know, right? You cannot be passive when it comes to growing your business, even if you're doing well right now. Like, it's why, I mean, like, that kind of feeds into the whole AOV and lifetime value, right? Like, your customers will turn and they will, you know, and my favorite is if you just get them used to discounts, then your AOV is kind of shot.
I think restaurants are a great one, right? Like, they 90% go out of business, right? So fast. The percentages and the statistics on restaurants who go out of business, and they're also the least likely one to actually spend anything on marketing. So I don't know.
Right.
You know, we've
oh my God! But how many?
Down here, and like, no, we don't need. I'm not spending on anything.
Right. But how many times have we seen? I have lived in Wheaton for the last 6 years. Right. The corner restaurant on whatever those main streets are by the across the street. Like right, that like corner that used to be one thing, and then I think that's like the 4th or 5th restaurant in the 6-year time frame that has changed in that location. And then, you know,
just famous for not wanting to spend. And I know they don't have any money and they act that way, but I'm like, look, if you're going to open a restaurant, you better budget for marketing, because, you know, beyond the mailers, they love to, restaurants love to be in mailer packages or the,
which I think, you know, which I think is fine, but do, like you said, beyond that, right? A plan beyond that. Let's talk about AOV, Mike.
You know what's so funny about restaurants too? Like one of my sons and I, we used to do trivia. Love to find trivia places and like try to find it. And then you're walking by a restaurant like in Wheaton once, and there's a sign up, and you're like, oh, I didn't know you guys do this.
Right.
You know, we could have been coming to this place. We didn't know you do this. We were looking for a place. It's not on your website anywhere. It's not on your social media.
You know? That's my favorite one, where things that you do are not on your social media.
I know.
You know, it's like, and I'm not trying to call out the place that my son goes for drum lessons, right? But I just had a conversation with somebody that works at that shop, and they said, you have to promote. Oh, I saw a flyer when I went in there for summer camps. And I was like, where would I have seen this? Oh, and the summer camp starts in 2 weeks, and you should have been talking about it for the last 3 months, because everybody that wants to put their kid in summer camp has planned that stuff in February, right? So get ahead of these things, plan on, your future acquisition. And then, it just drives me nuts that people don't, plan that stuff properly. Like, if you're going to be doing a summer camp, that you're doing it. And so just, promote, plan, get it out there. But the AOV is an interesting one for me, Mike, because I have such a from the retention perspective, the growing AOV is something that I just have such a difficult relationship with, and the lifetime value, right? Like the AOV I like because, we both have worked on the e-commerce side, and on the e-com side, it's always easy to do upsells, right? Like if you run a clothing website, there's a million apps you can do that can like recommend the products or, recommend cross sells, recommend, upsells, all those different things. So that is, from that perspective, easy to kind of incrementally start looking at your AOV. First of all, I don't think most small businesses know what their AOV is, what their average order value is. I'm willing to bet that like 99% of them don't know what that is for their business.
It's a number I track, and on a few clients, I track it. And most if you ask the business owner, they have an estimate. They're usually wildly inflated on it.
Yeah. And so you need to know, as a business owner, you need to know what your average order value is. Those are your sales divided by how many orders you've received in a month. Let's just do it in a month, right? Know your average order value for a month. If you serve different types of customers, so like just this example of a music store I just gave, right? So there's difference in people who come in there to do classes, and there's a difference in between people who come in purchase instruments or people who rent instruments for school year and stuff. Know the average order value for each. Know what you can upsell. If you're selling an instrument, if you're selling a class, your upsell easily is like music books and sheets and whatever, right? Like every business has an upsell, like where I go get my nails done. It's always an upsell of, do you want to design? Do you want to try this new thing that we've got going on? You want to get this service plus add this one and we'll give you a discount, that type of stuff. So you can work on those things to increase your average order value. But first you need to know it.
Yep.
Right.
We saw and cart candy at Grunt Style, right?
Yeah.
We call that cart candy. They're here to buy this main thing, but hey, by the way, we've got stickers or, like little small items.
Hat patches,
easy add-on things that somebody could, smaller purchase things, but it just ticks your AOV up a little bit.
For restaurants, desserts, drinks, like different things. I love the
drinks versus, right? Like if you're selling a Coke instead, like, hey, you can get it with a shot of grenadine or something, right? Like, or the flavored Cokes that we have, like something like that, But
what does a really good job is the Studio Movie Grill down the street from me, where for every movie they have a different drink. So it's always a thing where like you'll go in and you'll order this thing for this movie. So you're not just doing like a popcorn soda kind of thing. I mean, this is a place where you can sit down and eat anyway, right? But it's interesting because they'll do like a movie specific appetizer or so you want to order it. And especially if you take kids to the movies, like they will want the movie thing. So I think they do a really good job because they know you're still going to get your popcorn and whatever that may have been, but you're going to order this thing because it's cool, because it's movie related. I think for small businesses though, like just first start with knowing what your average order value is, and then work on increasing that so that is how you grow your business. That is already, you already got the customer, you already got, you're a chiropractor, offer a massage, acupuncture, whatever else, like sell, like when you go to a hair salon, when they try to sell you shampoos and conditioners, that's an upsell. They're increasing their average order value.
I think
you
AOV
should always
it's a good way for you. It takes pressure off a bit of your acquisition. So say, like one of my clients right now has a goal of 50,000 a week in revenue. So then you're always looking like, okay, well, based on your average order value, then if you want to do 50,000 a week based on your current and the trend of your average order value, this is how many customers you have to get in a week. And then if you're looking at the customers, you go backwards and you work it backwards on conversion rate. So here's how many people your sales team needs to talk to. And then here's how many leads we need to generate. Here's your the average cost per lead. So here's what we actually need to spend to generate those leads, like to get you here, right? Like you can math out kind of a plan and have an idea. If you increase your AOV, get on camera, it reduces your lead needs. If your AOV goes down, you need more leads, you got to work with more people. So AOV can help you on the pressure of that acquisition. But
It's a good metric to know, and it's a good metric to track. If you are a small business owner, just, it's okay if you didn't know what that was. It's okay if you didn't track it. Start. That's it. Just start. And then you'll at least have an idea of what that is. And that will give you a clearer idea of an average purchase in your business and figuring out then, I feel like Mike, you could do an entire course on acquisition cost, because I know that's a topic that we always run into, and you are very, very good at explaining acquisition costs, because most people don't even consider it or are way, way off about what it costs them to acquire a customer.
Yeah, or most business owners say, for as cheap as I can get it. Like, of course.
Of course,
yes, of
right.
course.
Yes.
But what is it though? You got to have a goal. And for any of these things, and for, look, business owners, if you don't have a KPI on something, a key performance indicator, if you don't have a metric as a goal, if you're not measuring something, then it's never going to get done.
It's never going to get done.
Measured gets improved. And I can't remember who said that. If that's Peter Drucker, maybe. If that's Drucker or Demings, one of those two guys.
Yeah.
But what gets measured gets improved. And if you aren't tracking this stuff, then you'll never know. And you don't know. Are we doing good right now? Are we doing bad?
Yeah.
We know in e-commerce, you can sell yourself out of business.
Oh, yes, you can. Which brings us to lifetime value, right?
You can sell to people at not profitable numbers and have a top line revenue that looks great, and you are running yourself out of business.
Yeah. So we talked about that, I think, when we talked about retention a little bit and chasing discounts, chasing revenue by discounting, right? And so lifetime value is one of those metrics that people are so polarized on. I feel like some people are so in tune with it and they want to know it and it's important. And then other people are like, I have no idea what that is. So, where I sit on that is really the first two: your acquisition and your AOV. And, of course, your revenue, track your revenue. I know Mike tracks it daily for his clients and, our clients, I guess. But you need to know how often somebody comes back to you. Right. And there is, CRMs like customer relationship management software platforms, Shopify, if you're doing e-commerce, that will estimate these things for you. They will tell you how often somebody has come back and purchased from you. If you're an accountant, does this person come in quarterly to do their business taxes? Are they coming back to me every year to do their taxes? Roughly how many times somebody has interacted with you, right? You hopefully have some measure of that. But the thing that's interesting with focusing so hard on lifetime value that I've seen, at least on the e-commerce side, Mike, is that this is when this is when people start chasing discounts, right? We need to get these people back. They've only purchased with us one time. Let's get them to come back and purchase something else. Give them 30% off. And then you inadvertently start training that audience to be a discount audience. And then you will do exactly what Mike said, which is sell yourself out of business because you're not looking at your profit margins. So I don't know. You talk about this one, Mike, because it's not my favorite metric.
Lifetime value, I don't like at Grunstyle and at e-commerce companies. I never let anyone talk about it.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear it. We don't talk about it. Your goal is to be profitable from the first purchase with somebody. Mm-hmm. That is your goal. Yes. That's your focus. Profitable from the first purchase. Lifetime value. And most, we work with small businesses now. Mm-hmm. Most small businesses do not have the software, the CRM, the clean data.
True.
To truly effectively track it anyway.
Very true.
We're not going to pay for the stuff. We're not going to upgrade CRMs. And really it's the clean data. That you really need and accurate tracking of customers and, gosh, even if you pay for something, you could go look in somebody's Salesforce right now. And I bet even on some relatively sophisticated companies with Salesforce, I bet I could find 7 or 8 records for one.
Oh,
customer.
I mean, gosh, the one client that we're working with now who has a truck repair service, right? The multitude, 3-4 different entries of the same customer in QuickBooks. Did you not look? And it's
don't have the data that's clean enough for you to really know. And then you're like, okay, how hard do we work that then? So then there's an ROI on this. And you're like, I don't know. Doesn't really matter.
Right.
Doesn't matter that much. It's interesting. It would be great, possibly. But like, look, let's focus at the front end of let's get more people in. Let's generate revenue here. Let's not worry about this. It'd be great.
Somebody can, because like we said at the beginning, somebody can leave you for any reason. Yeah. They can stop being your customer for any reason. You can be great. And look, like where we go and my son takes drum lessons, those folks are amazing. We love the teacher. We love the guy that owns the store, right? Like we love them. But if I move an hour away from where I live right now, guess where I'm not coming back for drum lessons every Saturday, and that doesn't mean that just because somebody's no longer your customer, it's a negative experience. It's hard to measure that lifetime value. And also don't count on it. That's what we see businesses do, right? Don't count on it. For us, we know on the marketing side, we can get hired by someone and, in 2 months, they can decide this isn't what they expected, or this is not what they don't have a budget for this anymore, or their nephew can come and do marketing.
Their nephew has a Twitch streams.
Yes, exactly. So he knows. He's done, he's done makeup videos on TikTok, so he can definitely run social media for an accounting firm. It tracks.
So we're going to have him do it as an intern.
Yeah. So, we know, and we also see, on a marketing side too, this is a whole separate conversation. I think we see it where people, agencies or contractors, consultants, fractional teams, whatever you want to call us, will do, we can 10X this thing. And then 60 days down the road, you didn't, and you get fired. And then you're just churning and burning customers, right? So don't do yourself a disservice in doing that. Like focus on your core business, focus on acquiring customers, worry a little less about, oh my God, what happens if they leave? It should, because if you have a full pipeline, you're fine. Like if you have, you're constantly acquiring people, you're fine.
Most businesses say too. So this question I always ask in like our marketing strategy course, in the why part of it, why do people buy from you? And most businesses say, it's our customer service. Our customer service sets us apart. Like, okay, well then that should help you on the retention side. It's not necessarily an acquisition thing. Like, I don't know how you're going to convince people that your customer service is better when they don't know you. It's not really a great acquisition tool unless you have a lot of social proof and you've got customers out there writing reviews. And even then, like, I don't know who trusts reviews anymore.
No one. I don't,
but that should help you there, right? So you should be providing good customer service. You should be monitoring your churn anyway and looking for problems, but you've got to build the top of your funnel, that it's about being seen, your first line, it's the impressions. When people say impressions are a vanity metric, like, no, I don't think so. They can be, yes. You can misuse.
They can be if they're inflated and misused. Yes.
Yeah.
But definitely
silly dance videos to get views, then yes, that's an inflated metric that your social media team wants to report at the Monday meeting to say, we got 1 million views last week. Like, really? On what? Our dance video.
Look, you got 2 million
about
views
our product or service, right? Like, okay.
And we've talked about this. We've had, you've had 2 million views on your video, Mike, on our Round to It channel. 0 sales came out of that for us. 0 clients, zero. So it's great that, maybe we got some new followers and maybe they'll stay and stick around and they'll ask questions, maybe, right? But those things don't guarantee you anything.
But then that video, so the problem with that viral video was it was me talking about, because I've done PR and stuff too. So it was it was J-Lo having some problem, and then it was she mishandled it. And I said, here's what you should have done and what I would have done and how I have done crisis management. And for some reason that went viral as hell.
Yeah.
But then people are like, oh, he talks about celebrity.
Right.
No, I don't. And
no, you don't.
That is where too, the temptation for business is like, well, should I make this kind of content? Should my next one be about a celebrity mishap and what I would have done? Should I keep going down that road? Like, no, that's not, I hate PR. I'm not a PR person. I don't want to do that. I'm not good at it. I don't have that network. Right. So why would I keep doing that kind of content? Because we don't want those clients.
No, we can't help those clients. We are not the best people to help those folks. Yeah.
So that piece hit, but it was really just kind of my experience thing and what I would have done. Right.
Right.
So it didn't do us any good. And then people followed us because they thought I was a celebrity gossip person.
Right.
So not one of them has ever interacted with anything we've ever done since. Got us enough followers to be able to go live on TikTok.
Right.
But
hey, sometimes that works too. But here's the thing though.
Fans.
Right.
anything.
But here's the thing, as a small business owner, and like I've said, like, look, both Mike and I have run our own small businesses, right? So we know that these things can get neglected, that you are not tracking your AOV, that you don't know what your acquisition funnel looks like. All we're saying is you want to grow. Those are the things you have to continuously focus on. You just have to, right? That's it. It's not optional.
The lowest number that you can allow a customer to purchase with you that is at least break even. And you don't want to go for that because you're break even on COGS, like you're not paying anything, right? Like what is the lowest number you can accept?
Right. So know that, grow your AOV from there and work on,
on the client I have right now, his goal is 50K a week, right? In rev. So it's like, okay, well, based on this, you need to do this. And then when I showed him, then I'm like, here's the cost per lead. So here's what you actually need to be spending. He's like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do that. I'm like, okay, but in theory, it would get you to this goal. And if you were doing this at these numbers, like, hey, your actual, like your P&L percentage on spend is still within a good range. So why not? Why wouldn't you then, and you're like, it looks fine. Tell your sales team to get the AOV up then, right? Like tell your sales team to post more. Stop coming to me.
But yeah, so as a small, that's the thing though, Mike, as a small business owner, right? Like, we've said this before, it's always the marketing. Sometimes like small businesses don't even have a budget for marketing. They don't have that line item. So here's the thing, you need that line item and you need to continue no matter what your business is, no matter if you're selling t-shirts as a e-com or if you're a restaurant in a downtown area of a small town, an accountant, it doesn't matter. Continue your acquisition efforts. Know what you can, as Mike said, be profitable from sale one, because you're not guaranteed that second one. You're not guaranteed a lifetime value. You are guaranteed one sale if that person buys from you. So make sure you're profitable there and just keep acquisition moving. Just do it. Stay in business.
There we go. All right. A long one this week. So hopefully.
Ooh, but a good one though. Hopefully people have listened. I think there's a lot of good stuff there. Yeah.
Acquisition is so important, folks. We'll continue to talk about it more. And if you have any questions about acquisition or numbers, if you want to work back through funnels and stuff, all of that, we can math these things out. You need to plan. If you have a number that you need to make, if you're a business owner, here's what I need to make to stay not only in business, but like, hey, this is what I want to make as a salary this year. So what is all of that? What do I need to do? And then, okay, how many customers do I need to do this? And you work backwards, whatever.
Work backwards. I feel like this is a class that you're going to need to teach, Mike, but that's a whole different
We're going to put our sign
podcast.
out. We're going to put our shingle out front and the customers will just come. We will just start making money everywhere. All we got to do is open the doors. So,
I wish it worked that way.
I know, I wish.
All right, guys.
All right, everybody.
Let's
thank you for tuning in. We appreciate it. A long one. This was our record, I think, for us. But thank you if you are still here at the end. We really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. Tune in again next week. We'll be back, I think, with a guest on the next one.
Yeah.
I don't know. No promises. We'll see. We'll see you next week.